Welcome to From Manuscript to Ministry, created and produced by Elder William Moore, the podcast where faith meets the written word. Each week, your hosts David and Martha dive into powerful, self-published books by Christian authors who are boldly using their God-given voices to impact the kingdom. Whether you're an aspiring writer, a reader seeking spiritual growth, or a ministry leader in search of authentic resources, this is your space to be inspired, encouraged, and equipped. Let's explore today's featured book and uncover the life-changing message behind the manuscript.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're getting into something really core, I think, to personal power and authenticity.
Yeah, it's a big one. Our source is an analysis of quote 14 from William Moore's work, Proverbs 31, empowering quotes for everyday motivation. We're really just taking this one statement apart.
And looking at how it challenges some, really fundamental ideas we have about competence, success, what being strong actually means.
And the quote itself, it focuses on the Proverbs 31 woman, but the idea is, well, it feels almost subversive today.
Say the quote for us.
She finds strength in vulnerability, embracing her imperfections and celebrating her unique journey.
Strength and vulnerability. I mean, right there, that phrasing immediately throws down the gauntlet.
It does.
So our mission in this deep dive is really to unpack that paradox. How can the things we're usually taught to hide, become the foundation of real power?
Well, and Moore's analysis points straight at this huge cultural contrast.
Yeah.
Modern society, let's be honest, it teaches us that vulnerability is basically a liability, right?
Something to be covered up, quick.
Exactly. A weakness to exploit or, at best, a crack in the armor you need to patch instantly. Think about leadership narratives, business culture.
Even just social media. Oh, absolutely. The message everywhere is present that polished, perfect, put-together front. Always. We're all kind of running our own PR campaigns constantly. It's exhausting, isn't it? Just maintaining that brave face. It must take so much energy that could go elsewhere.
That's exactly the point the text makes. This Proverbs 31 woman, the subject of the quote. The analysis says she just doesn't play that game. She completely flips the script.
How so? What does she do instead?
Well, her resilience, her effectiveness, it doesn't come from being flawless. It comes from this really radical willingness to just be real.
Okay, being real.
But it's more than just self-acceptance. Critically, it's about being open towards the divine, letting your true, flawed self be seen and, importantly, be used. The strength actually starts there, in that willingness to be transparent.
Okay, let's unpack that then. If vulnerability is the starting point, the foundation, that forces us to completely redefine what we even mean by strength. Because the traditional kind of strength, what our world values so much, the source material seems to suggest it's actually pretty brittle.
Yeah, and what's fascinating is the way Moore's work draws this clear line between traditional strength and what we could maybe call biblical strength.
Okay, tell us about that distinction. Traditional strength is, pretty straightforward. It's linked to those classic heroic ideas, physical power, maybe intellectual control, dominance, and critically, the absence of any visible weakness.
Right.
Self-generated, you build it yourself, you maintain it yourself.
Exactly. It's a closed loop. Which means, like you said, it's only as strong as your own current capacity the moment something bigger comes along.
The whole thing can shatter.
Precisely. That system almost guarantees eventual collapse, doesn't it? But the strength in this quote, the biblical kind, it works differently. It's rooted deep down in grace, in humility, in admitting you depend on something or someone else, something reliably perfect, not yourself.
So the power isn't about what you have or what you control.
No, it's about what you yield. What you allow in.
Okay, so if traditional strength is about building these impenetrable walls around yourself, this other kind of strength needs us to, open the gates, to invite support in.
That's a great way to put it.
Which makes vulnerability not just this passive state of being exposed, but an active strategic decision.
Absolutely. The analysis really explores vulnerability as an invitation. It's not just surrender. It's a deliberate move. And far from making us weaker, it actively invites intimacy and trust.
Both with other people and vertically.
Yes. Both horizontally with others who are also struggling, building real community, and vertically with the divine. By letting down those walls we build so carefully, we actually achieve the prerequisite for real transformation.
And what does that access allow? What happens then, according to the source?
The text is very clear on this. It says, vulnerability gives God access to heal the wounded parts and use them for his glory.
Okay, access to heal. and use. That's huge.
Mm-hmm.
It implies the healing and then the ultimate use, the maximizing of potential. It actually depends on exposing the wound first.
Yeah. If you hide the weakness, you block the healing.
Yeah.
You prevent that potential from being realized through that divine partnership.
Hold on. Does the source suggest God's power is somehow limited if we don't show vulnerability? Or is it just the pathway he prefers? That seems tricky theologically.
That's a really critical question, and Moore's analysis touches on it, maybe implicitly. It suggests that while divine power itself is limitless, its application within a relationship, well, that seems to require our consent or cooperation.
Ah, okay. So it's less a limitation on his power, more about respecting our free will.
Exactly. Think of it that way. We have to actively, disclose the wound, open the door to let that transformative process begin. Our vulnerability becomes the mechanism, the way we exchange our own shaky, self-made strength for this external, perfect power.
And this whole idea, this exchange, it's really captured powerfully in the specific scripture the source uses, isn't it? The one dealing directly with weakness.
Yes, absolutely. This is where it moves from maybe a philosophical idea to something more like a mechanical principle. With 2 Corinthians 12.9, remind us what that says. My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. And we really can't just skim over that phrase, made perfect in weakness. Yeah, that's not just saying, oh, it's okay that you're weak.
Not at all. It's not a consolation prize for failing. It's a detailed explanation of the divine economy, how this power actually works.
So if the power is perfected in the weakness, that means the weakness isn't just tolerated or worked around. It's somehow the necessary ingredient, the medium through which the power reaches its full potential. Precisely. The original Greek for perfect there, it often means something like being completed or brought to its intended goal. Teleological perfection.
Yeah.
So when we're weak, what happens? Our human tendency towards pride, towards self-reliance, it gets pushed aside, right? The weakness acts like a channel or maybe a constraint, ensuring that when strength does show up or success happens, it's clearly not just from us.
Ah, so it makes the source of the power undeniable.
Exactly. The power is perfected or completed because the vessel, us, is demonstrably incapable of generating that kind of power alone. So hiding the weakness, that actually obstructs the perfection of the power because it confuses where it's coming from.
Wow, okay. That is a massive mental shift. It means we have to stop seeing our weaknesses as these embarrassing liabilities we need to suppress at all costs and start seeing them as maybe the actual prerequisites for receiving and displaying the ultimate kind of strength.
Yeah. It suggests the real failure isn't having flaws. It's refusing to acknowledge them.
So strength isn't about having no gaps. It's about admitting the gaps so they can be perfectly filled by grace.
That's it. And realizing that is just foundational, isn't it? Especially for anyone, conditioned to think competence means having this impenetrable exterior. Which leads us perfectly into the next part of our deep dive, the practical side. What does living this actually look like? Let's move into section 2, embracing imperfection.
Right. So now we move from the idea of strategic vulnerability to the day-to-day reality of actually accepting the flaws that make us feel vulnerable to begin with. And the source material here offers something really powerful. It feels almost like permission. It says very clearly, it's okay to not have it all together. Just hearing that, I mean, for anyone in a high-pressure job or family situation or just life, that's incredibly freeing, isn't it? We spend so much energy trying to keep up that illusion of constant total competence.
And that very attempt at perfection, Moore's analysis argues, is the fastest way to burnout, to isolation.
So how does it suggest we reframe imperfection then?
It says imperfection isn't a moral failure. It's not some critical error state we need to panic about. It's simply a part of being human. Accepting that's the turning point.
Once we stop fighting the reality that we are flawed,
then we can stop wasting energy managing our image and actually start, maximizing our potential, flaws and all.
So we shift from defense, trying to hide the flaws, to offense, using the truth of our limits somehow.
Exactly. And the analysis actually details 3 specific practical benefits that come just from acknowledging our imperfections, benefits that affect how others see us and how we see ourselves. Okay, let's break those down. The first one, acknowledging imperfection makes us more relatable. Why is relatability a strength here? Well, think about it. Relatability is like the glue for real community, real influence. If a leader or just anyone presents this totally flawless image, it creates distance, doesn't it?
Yeah, you might admire them, but you don't necessarily feel connected to them.
Exactly. They seem aspirational, maybe, but separate. The source suggests people don't connect over perfection. They connect over shared struggle, shared humanity. Think about authentic leadership today. Often it involves admitting mistakes, right? Or acknowledging blind spots.
So admitting an imperfection isn't just self-disclosure. It's almost like an act of service. It gives other people permission to be imperfect too.
That's a great way to see it. It fosters genuine trust. The strength here is relational strength, the power that comes from having a real supportive network around you. The analysis basically says true, lasting influence comes from accepting and showing your limits, because it makes others feel safe around you. Okay, that makes sense. Benefit number 2. Accepting imperfection makes us more teachable. How does that work?
Well, it links straight back to humility, doesn't it? If I truly believe I've got it all figured out in some area, that I'm basically flawless.
You stop listening. You stop learning. Exactly. Your learning capacity just shuts down. You become rigid, uncorrectable, blind to new information or different perspectives. Moore's work connects the humility needed to be teachable directly to recognizing your own inherent flaws and your capacity for making mistakes.
So acknowledging imperfection kind of creates this positive feedback loop. Because I know I have blind spots, I actively look for input, for correction, for mentors. And that cycle of continuous learning is way more resilient and adaptive in the long run than just standing still thinking you're already an expert.
It's definitely the better long-term strategy. The strength you gain from always learning, being adaptable, staying informed, that far outweighs the sort of fragile comfort you get from declaring yourself an expert right now. Acknowledging imperfection fuels that intellectual and, well, spiritual maturity.
Yep.
Okay, relatable, teachable. And the third benefit ties it all back to the beginning. Accepting imperfection makes us more dependent on God's perfection.
Yes.
This is the ultimate act of yielding we talked about earlier.
It's finally admitting that the only truly reliable source of strength isn't inside us. It's external.
It's recognizing that the ultimate source is external, yes, and perfect and unlimited. If we insist on trying to be perfect ourselves, relying only on our own finite, flawed abilities, well, the strength we can muster is always going to be limited, isn't it?
Right.
But by recognizing our own capacity for failure, our imperfections, we immediately make room for that higher, infinitely reliable power source. It ensures the strength we operate in isn't just complete, but it's also unwavering because it's not dependent on our own fluctuating performance.
And the analysis really drives this home with that powerful historical example, doesn't it? The one about selection. It reminds us who Jesus actually chose to build his core team.
Yeah, that's a crucial observation in the text. The selection process wasn't based on finding the most competent people or those with the most perfect religious records.
No, if perfection was the main criteria, the discipleship group would have looked very different, probably full of established religious leaders.
Instead, the source points out, he chose the imperfect, the overlooked, the flawed. Fishermen, a tax collector, people who were very clearly human, with obvious weaknesses, maybe even questionable pasts.
And importantly, he didn't just put up with their flaws while using their good parts.
No, that's the critical distinction the analysis makes. He actively transformed their broken stories into these enduring legacies. Peter's impulsiveness, Thomas's doubt, Matthew's past. These weren't disqualifiers.
There was the raw material.
Exactly. They weren't obstacles to their purpose. They were the very context in which the ultimate story, the perfection of grace, could be made visible to everyone.
So it really hammers home the idea that your past mistakes, your current weaknesses, they aren't errors that need to be erased. They're just the specific clay that gets molded into the final piece.
The value isn't in the initial state of the clay, but in the transformation that happens once you allow access, once you accept the process.
The flaws become like identifying marks of the journey. They do. And that realization leads us right into the third element of the quote, which is maybe the most personal one. Celebrating the unique journey. Okay, section 3, that final phrase. Celebrating her unique journey. And the analysis immediately pairs this with a really strong warning, doesn't it? Something more emphasizes heavily.
Comparison is a thief.
That's stark.
What does it steal?
Well, the analysis suggests it steals at least 3 things. Your joy in the present moment, your gratitude for where you've come from, and your confidence about where you're going. How does it do that?
Because when we compare our internal reality, our messy, complex, work-in-progress self against someone else's carefully curated external image, their highlight reel,
We always come up short.
we're guaranteed to feel inadequate. It's an unwinnable game.
And the analysis seems to say that this urge to compare comes from rejecting our own specific path. We look sideways instead of forward.
That's the poison, exactly. And the antidote, according to the source, is this radical acceptance of what it calls the custom path.
The custom path. Yeah, reinforcing the idea that every single person is walking a truly different path, marked by, completely individualized terrain, specific timing that's unique to them, challenges that are tailor-made for their growth. The analysis uses this phrase: your trials, your victories, your lessons were all designed for you. All designed for you. That carries enormous weight, doesn't it? It implies zero waste, no random setbacks, no experiences outside of some kind of purposeful intent.
Right. Your specific mix of weaknesses, strengths, timing.
Yeah.
It's all custom engineered for the life only you can lead.
And once you really grasp at the intentionality behind your unique path, the analysis suggests a major psychological shift happens.
Yeah, you move away from that destructive habit of comparison and towards a real grounded confidence. When you truly embrace your own story, scars and all.
You stop looking left and right for validation.
Exactly. You start walking with this anchored internal confidence. The analysis implies comparison isn't just unhelpful, it actively stalls you. It prevents you from fully stepping into your purpose because you're too busy looking at someone else's.
So the confidence here isn't based on feeling superior or being better than others.
No, not at all. It's based on anchoring your value in your unique custom design. If my path is intentionally mine, then comparing it to yours, it's meaningless. It's like comparing apples and purpose-built wrenches, like you said earlier, totally different functions.
Right, okay.
And to really ground this sense of unique value, the source connects it back to that incredibly powerful affirmation in Psalm 139.
The part about being fearfully and wonderfully made.
Yes. But the analysis pushes us to think about what's included in that wonderfully made package.
Okay. What does it emphasize?
It insists on total inclusion. Being wonderfully made doesn't just cover our obvious talents or successes. It explicitly includes, and this is key, our scars, our setbacks, and our silent wins.
Let's unpack those. Why are scars part of being wonderfully made?
Well, scars, whether they're physical or emotional, they're evidence, aren't they? Evidence of past vulnerability, yes, but also evidence of healing. They show we faced something difficult and came through it.
So they're not mistakes to hide, but badges of resilience.
Exactly. Integral parts of the design, they signal resilience, they signal the scope of grace we've received. Scars tell a story that perfect, unmarked skin just can't.
Okay, and setbacks. How are they part of a wonderful design?
The source frames setbacks not as final failures, but as necessary course corrections on our unique timeline. They're the turns in the road that maybe enforce humility or redirect our focus onto something crucial we were missing.
So without the setback, we might have missed a lesson needed for the next step.
Potentially, yes. They're essential adjustments, ensuring we stay on the custom path designed for us. And the last one, silent wins. What are those? These are often the deepest ones, the internal victories. Overcoming a private fear, resisting a temptation nobody else knew about, choosing integrity when it was hard.
The character wins that build deep, unseen strength.
Precisely. They build that inner resilience needed to sustain any kind of public success later on. They confirm that the strength being developed is real, anchored inside, not just dependent on outside approval or applause.
So this means the very parts of our story we're most tempted to edit out, to hide, they're actually part of the original blueprint.
Mm-hmm.
The uniqueness of our journey isn't about being perfect in some quirky way. It's about being authentically us, the whole package, validated because it's intentional.
It completely shifts the perspective, doesn't it? From seeing these things as problems to overcome to seeing them as the essential ingredients for the specific grace story being written in your life.
Okay, this has laid out a really compelling framework, conceptually, theologically, for understanding strength and vulnerability. But now we need to get practical. The source material includes what it calls a real talk moment.
Right, designed to push past just intellectual agreement, because understanding it is one thing.
But actually living it out, that requires, well, surrendering control.
Yeah.
Embracing grace in practice.
We need to internalize this, really let it sink in. So as we plan, we want to pose the 2 specific reflection questions from the text directly to you listening right now. Treat this as a genuine challenge to your current way of thinking. The first one requires real honesty. Where are you hiding your imperfections instead of letting God use them? Yeah, take a quiet moment with that. Think specifically, where are you putting energy into building or maintaining that shield of perfection? Because, as we've discussed, that shield might actually be blocking the very access needed for transformation. Which specific weakness, if you acknowledged it, if you revealed it, maybe just to God, maybe to a trusted friend, which one could actually accelerate your growth or deepen your connections right now?
And the key isn't just spotting the weakness. It's seeing that by hiding it, you might be denying the necessary ingredient for change. You're trying to rely on your own limited strength instead of tapping into that perfect external power.
Mm-hmm. And the second question, it challenges that whole performance mindset. What would happen if you let go of the pressure to be perfect and leaned into grace instead? I mean, really think about that pressure. It's constant, isn't it? It drains energy, demands control. So leaning into grace, that's an active choice. It's surrendering that need for control. It's saying, I trust that yielding this actually brings a better, stronger result. What relief might you feel, even just today, if you consciously decided to drop that burden of having to be perfect?
If you can sit with those two questions honestly, the source suggests you're ready for the next practical step, the specific weekly challenge it provides.
Right. This moves it from reflection into action, a daily, manageable practice to start weaving these ideas into your life. It's a 3-part challenge. And the steps are simple, but actually doing them, it can feel pretty radical. It's designed to fundamentally change that internal conversation you have about your flaws. Okay, step 1 of the challenge. Write down one area where you feel vulnerable. Make it concrete, a specific fear, a character trait you wrestle with, an insecurity. Just writing it down makes it real, brings it out of the shadows. It's that act of naming it. That's the first step to disarming its power over you, isn't it? Then step 2. This is the big mental flip. Instead of judging it, celebrate it.
Whoa, okay.
Yeah. This is where it gets really countercultural. Instead of that usual inner critic track, ooh, it shouldn't be like this, I have to fix this. Now, the challenge is to actively celebrate that vulnerability.
But why celebrate it?
Because, according to this framework, you're celebrating the custom-designed access point for grace. You're celebrating the truth that this specific flaw might be the perfect vehicle for God to work in your story.
Okay. So the celebration isn't of the flaw itself, but of the opportunity it represents. The opportunity for reliance on something perfect. Exactly. It shifts your internal narrative from shame or frustration to gratitude. Gratitude for the chance to grow, to depend on perfection. It's an act of faith, really, believing this weakness will be used for good.
Okay, that makes more sense. Write it down. Celebrate the opportunity it presents. What's step 3? Step 3 completes the cycle. It moves from internal acceptance to external mission. Declare how God is using that part of your story to inspire others. Okay, declare it how? Out loud. To someone.
You could be journaling it, praying it, or yes, maybe even sharing it appropriately with someone else. The point is to consciously articulate its purpose beyond just yourself. It elevates the imperfection, gives it a ministry.
So it transforms the vulnerability from a personal struggle into a potential testimony.
Precisely. When you declare how it's being used, or how you trust it will be used, you're essentially saying, this thing I used to hide, it's actually becoming evidence of grace, evidence of hope, maybe for someone else walking through the same thing. That declaration is the ultimate proof of strength being perfected in weakness. The vulnerability stops being a liability and starts becoming an asset.
Wow, that's powerful. Write it down, celebrate it, declare its purpose. That's a very tangible way to start living out this quote.
Yeah. It brings this whole deep dive to a really practical point. We've seen that our flaws, our imperfections, they aren't the end of the story. They might actually be the starting line for the most profound kind of transformation. And maybe we can close by circling back to that final scripture the source material uses. It feels like the ultimate promise that flows from all of this, from vulnerability, from accepting imperfection. Isaiah 61.3. Ah, yes, the beauty for ashes verse. It really does capture the essence, doesn't it?
It says, He gives beauty for ashes, the oil of joy for mourning, the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness. Think about that exchange. Ashes. What are they? They're the remnants of what's been burned away. Disappointments, failures, losses, the visible signs of our vulnerability that we usually want to sweep under the rug.
But the promise isn't just that the ashes disappear.
No, the promise is that beauty is given for them, in exchange for them. The new thing, the beautiful thing, is somehow constructed from the ashes of the old. The acknowledged vulnerability becomes the foundation for the beauty. So the accepted imperfections, the ashes, they become the necessary input for the final output. Beauty, joy, praise. It confirms the whole argument, doesn't it? Transformation requires the acknowledged weakness. The Proverbs 31 woman finding strength in vulnerability isn't just, nice poetry. It's a description of how this divine transformation actually works.
This whole exploration, it feels incredibly freeing. It challenges us to just drop that exhausting pressure to seem flawless and instead lean into the unique custom design of our actual lives. And as you, the listener, take this away, we really hope you'll anchor yourself in that core truth from Moore's analysis. Your imperfections don't disqualify you. They actually define the specific way grace is being written into your life story. The world doesn't need another performance of perfection. It needs your authentic, unique, maybe beautifully flawed, but definitely resilient self. So embrace those vulnerabilities, celebrate your specific God-designed journey, and just watch what strength emerges when you finally let go of that pressure to be perfect.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into embracing imperfection. Until next time, stay anchored in that truth and celebrate the beautiful, intentional, maybe messy story that is uniquely yours.
Thank you for joining us today on From Manuscript to Ministry. If today's featured book encouraged, challenged, or inspired you, we invite you to take the next step, purchase a copy, and support the author behind the message. When you invest in their work, you're not just buying a book, you're sowing into good ground and helping advance the kingdom of God through faith-filled storytelling. Don't forget to subscribe, follow, leave a review, and share this episode with someone who needs it. Your support helps these powerful voices reach even further. Until next time, keep reading, keep writing, keep praying, and keep walking boldly in your calling. God is still turning manuscripts into ministries.